At the celebration banquet, everyone was all smiles. Only I was out of place. In front of everyone, I handed over a divorce agreement. Split the assets 50-50. I'll take my 50 billion, and from now on, we owe each other nothing. The entire room was in an uproar. My wife, Sue Wan, her eyes red, looked at me and cursed that I had finally grown a spine, daring to mention divorce to her. Everyone cursed me for being a shameless kept man, an insatiable bloodsucker. They didn't know. I wasn't fighting for the money. I was using this 50 billion to buy her life. The devil I buried with my own hands, the one named Great God, was coming back. Chapter 1 next. Let us welcome with the most enthusiastic applause the leader of Genesis Technology, our Jiangxing's youngest female CEO with a 10 billion fortune, Ms. Sue Wan, to the stage for a speech. The spotlight suddenly shone on Sue Wan. She was wearing a silver haute couture gown today, her long hair tied up, her makeup exquisite. Her cool and detached face held a trace of unconcealable excitement. She was a natural-born queen, dazzling and radiant. Below the stage, the applause was thunderous. I mingled in the crowd of Natalie-dressed people, wearing a faded white casual outfit, like a drop of ink and cream, cheap and jarring. Is that CEO Sue's worthless husband? What was his name again? I think it's Sean M.O. I heard he's just an ordinary office worker, making a few thousand a month. A real case of a toad eating swan meat. CEO, Sue must be blind. How can a man like him be worthy of her? The surrounding discussions were just loud enough to reach my ears. Expressionless. I picked up a glass of champagne on my own and took a sip. So sweet, sickeningly sweet. 5 years. For Sue Wan. I had shed all my sharp edges, hidden all my fangs, and willingly became a mediocre office worker. I thought this kind of life could last forever. But I forgot. She is an eagle. It's impossible for her to stay under a small roof forever. Now, she has soared to the heavens, becoming the focus of everyone's attention. And being the focus also means being a target. Those hungry wolves I once trampled underfoot, who hate me to the bone, would soon follow the scent of blood to her door. They can't touch me, but they would not hesitate to tear apart the most precious thing by my side. Sue Wan stood on the stage, her voice carrying through the microphone across the entire banquet hall. I thank everyone who has supported Genesis, and I especially want to thank my family, my husband. For these past 5 years, without his support, I could not have made it to this day. Her gaze passed through the crowd and landed precisely on me, her eyes filled with love and a hint of apology. I knew what she was apologizing for. She felt that for the past 5 years, she had been busy with her career and had neglected me, that I had sacrificed too much for her. The people around followed her gaze toward me, their eyes filled with jealousy, contempt, and confusion. Meeting her gaze, I slowly revealed a smile. Wan, goodbye. I put down my glass, straightened my cheap collar, and step by step, walked against the flow of people toward the direction of the brightest light. Everyone was looking at me. They thought I was going on stage to share in this glory. Even Sue Wan extended her hand to me, a happy smile on her face. I walked up to her, but I did not take her outstretched hand. From my coat, I took out a neatly folded piece of paper and handed it to her. What is this? Sue Wan was stunned. A divorce agreement. My voice wasn't loud, but it was like a clap of thunder exploding in the bustling banquet hall. Instantly, the entire hall fell deathly silent. The expressions on everyone's faces froze. The smile on Sue Wan's face vanished in an instant. The color drained from it, leaving only an unbelievable pallor. Chinamoyu, what did you say? Her voice was trembling. I didn't look at her. Instead, I picked up the MC's microphone beside me, my calm voice spreading throughout the hall. Ms. Sue Wan, congratulations on your company's IPO, making you worth 100 billion. According to marital property law, I demand to divide half of it, which is 50 billion. Once the money is in my account, we will go to the Civil Affairs Bureau. I looked at the shocked, angry, and contemptuous faces below the stage, my heart as cold as ice. Come on, curse me. The louder you curse, the safer she will be. You're insane. An angry voice rang out. Sue Wan's suitor, a rich heir named Zhao Hui, was the first to rush up, pointing at my nose and cursing. Chinamo, you good for nothing. What right do you have to a share of CEO Sue's money? 4 or 5 years you've lived off her, and now that she's successful, you pounce like a leech to suck her blood. Have you no shame? Exactly. I've seen shameless people, but never someone this shameless. Throw him out. Don't let him dirty CEO Sue's place. The crowd instantly erupted, and a tide of curses washed over me. Suwon's mother, my mother-in-law, was trembling with anger. She pointed at me, her lips quivering, unable to speak. I never once looked at them. My gaze was fixed solely on Suwon. A faint tremor ran through her body. Her eyes reddened in an instant, tears welling up, but she stubbornly refused to let them fall. She stared at me, as if searching my face for any hint of a joke. But there was none. My face was a mask of indifference. Chinimo. She finally spoke, each word seemingly forced through gritted teeth. 5 years. In your eyes, is our 5-year relationship worth only this much money? I looked at her despairing, heartbroken face. My heart felt as though it were being squeezed by a giant, invisible hand, so painful I could barely breathe. A chill like ice water washed over my insides. Wanwan, I'm sorry. This is the only way you can survive. I took a deep breath, swallowing the metallic taste in my throat, and twisted my lips into an incredibly cruel smile. What else? President Sue, surely you weren't naive enough to think I actually loved you? I waited 5 years. Wasn't it all for today? With that, I placed the divorce agreement gently on the lectern in front of her, turned, and walked off the stage without looking back. Behind me, Sue Won's completely broken sobs and the deafening curses of the crowd erupted. I straightened my back and, step by step, walked out of that glittering, golden hell. The moment I was outside, I dialed a number that had been buried for 5 years. An old, excited voice came from the other end. Boss. Old Gio. My voice was so hoarse it didn't sound like my own. I'm back. Get ready. I want to use 50 billion to buy the entire Jiang City's night. The next day, Genesis Technologies' legal team contacted me. Very efficient. It seems Sue Won was truly and utterly disappointed in me. Fine by me. The meeting was set at a coffee shop. Sue Won herself didn't come. In her place was her chief lawyer, a sharp-looking man with gold-rimmed glasses. Mr. Chun, this is the Asset Division Agreement drafted by President Sue. As per your request, the 50 billion in cash will be transferred to your designated account within 24 hours of your signature. The lawyer pushed a thick file in front of me, his tone dripping with undisguised contempt. I didn't even bother to read it. I flipped directly to the last page and signed my name with a flourish. You should have my account details, I said. It was the joint account I shared with Sue Won. For 5 years, the only deposits were the $10,000 a month she gave me for living expenses and nothing more. The lawyer paused, seemingly surprised by my decisiveness. He adjusted his glasses and said in a businesslike tone, Mr. Chun, President Sue has one more condition. Speak. She hopes that after you receive the money, you will leave Jiang City immediately and never return. Furthermore, you are to never appear before her again. My heart clenched violently. The ash from the cigarette between my fingers fell silently onto the table. Never return. Never appear. Sue Won, you're as ruthless as ever. I looked up, that same cynical smile on my face. No problem. After all, 50 billion to make me get lost? That's a good deal. The lawyer's gaze grew even more disdainful. He collected the documents and stood up. Well then, a pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Chun. I hope you keep your promise. He turned and left, as if fleeing a plague. I sat alone by the window, watching the traffic outside, and drained the cold coffee in my cup. It was unbearably bitter. I returned to what Sue Won and I called home, a spacious 200-square-meter apartment. This place, once filled with our laughter, now felt terrifyingly empty. Sue Won wasn't there. Good. It saves me a goodbye. I didn't have much luggage, just a few changes of clothes and an old phone. I pulled open a drawer. At the very bottom, tucked away, was a black velvet box. I opened it. Lying quietly inside was a plain, unremarkable platinum ring. 5 years ago, I'd spent all my savings to buy it from a street stall. That day, I proposed to Sue Won. She had cried, saying, Chinamo, I don't want anything. I just want you. I just want you to be safe and sound for the rest of your life. I thought I could do it. I placed the ring back in the deepest part of the drawer and closed it. It was like closing the door on the only bit of ordinary happiness I had possessed in these 5 years. I dragged my small suitcase to the door and took one last look at the home I had decorated with my own hands. Just as I was about to close the door and leave, the sound of high heels approached from outside. It was Soo-won. She was back. The door was thrown open. Soo-won stood in the doorway, her eyes red and swollen, her face pale, reeking of alcohol. She looked at the suitcase by my feet and laughed at herself. Not that impatient. I didn't say anything, turning sideways to walk past her. But she grabbed my wrist, her strength surprisingly immense. Chun-mo. She practically roared, "Look at me." I was forced to turn around and meet her eyes, which were filled with pain and fury. "Answer me. Why are you doing this? Is it just for the money? If you needed money, why didn't you tell me? 5 million? 50 million? I could have given it to you. Why did you have to use this method? To stab me in the back?" Her tears finally broke through, streaming down her cheeks. Every drop felt like scorching magma, searing my heart. My throat felt like it was clogged with sand. I couldn't utter a single word. My nails dug deep into my palms until sharp pain bloomed. "What are you crying for? Soo-won, you should be laughing. You're finally rid of a ticking time bomb like me." I had to make her give up completely. I violently shook her hand off, took a step back, and created distance between us. I looked at her, and in the most venomous, coldest voice I had ever used in my life, I said word by word, "President Soo, have you misunderstood something? I don't need the money. I just feel that my 5 years of youth are worth this price. I play house with you for 5 years. It's not too much to ask for a little compensation, is it?" Soo-won's body swayed, as if all her strength had been drained away. She looked at me, her expression shifting from pain to shock, and finally to a deathly gray stillness. "Fine, a fine 5 years of youth." She smiled miserably and nodded. "Chun-mo, you're really something. Get out. Take your money and get out of my world." I dragged my suitcase and walked past her. This time, she didn't stop me. I could even hear the sound of her heart breaking behind me. I didn't look back. I was afraid that if I did, I would never be able to leave. Outside the apartment complex, a black Rolls-Royce was already waiting by the roadside. The car door opened, and an old man with graying hair, dressed in a Tang suit, stood respectfully beside the car. "Boss." Lao Jio's voice was still hoarse, but it carried the excitement of a reunion. I threw the suitcase into the trunk and got into the car. "To hell." "Yes." The car started, merging smoothly into the flow of traffic. In the rearview mirror, I saw that familiar figure still standing alone at the entrance of the complex, like a child abandoned by the whole world. My heart began to ache again. It's not the fear of losing the bet, but the fear of quitting the gamble. "Soo-won, you were my addiction. Now, I've quit it with my own hands." Hell was Jiangqing's most mysterious underground fighting ring. It was also my former empire, the place where the dream began. 5 years ago, it was here that I, under the name Grey God, became a legend overnight and disappeared overnight. The Rolls-Royce stopped in front of an unremarkable iron door, the back entrance of an abandoned cannery. Lao Jiu opened the door for me. "Boss, it's all arranged. The current owner of Hell is called Black Panther. He used to run with you. I told him a major client wanted to buy the place, and he's already cleared it out." I nodded and walked in. Behind the iron door was another world. Deafening music, mixed with the smell of alcohol and hormones, rushed towards me. In the center of the huge, circular venue, an octagonal cage was particularly striking, still stained with dark red blood. A bald man with a fleshy face and a thick gold chain around his neck was waiting respectfully at the entrance with a group of his men. When he saw me, he was first stunned, and then his face broke into an expression of incredulous ecstasy. Grey God." Black Panther's voice was trembling. I raised my hand to stop him. "From now on, my name is Chun-mo," I said faintly. Black Panther immediately understood, nodding and bowing excitedly. Yes, Mr. Chun. Why are you back?" "To buy something." I walked to the edge of the octagon, tapping lightly on the cold iron mesh, which made a dull sound. "This place, along with all the fighters you have, I want them all. Name a price." Black Panther was stunned. He opened his mouth, but couldn't speak for a long time. "Boss." "No, Mr. Chun, what are you?" 50 billion. Is that enough? I interrupted him. Enough. More than enough. Way more than enough. Black Panther's head nodded like he was crushing garlic. Mr. Chun, you're slapping me in the face by even saying that. Never mind 50 billion. With just one word from you, this hell is yours. My life, Black Panther's life, was given by you. I smiled and patted his shoulder. Business is business. What I need is a team that is absolutely loyal and capable. The money is a settlement fee for the brothers. I turned to Lao Jio. Distribute the money. From this day forward, this place is renamed the Abyss. I am a lord of the Abyss. Yes, Lao Jio's voice was sonorous and forceful. Black Panther and his men stared, their eyes wide, at the proof of successful transfers. The way they looked at me changed from reverence to fanatical adoration. We swear to serve the Lord of the Abyss until death. Black Panther led the way, kneeling on one knee. Behind him, over 100 formidable fighters dropped to their knees in unison. The roar of their voices shook the heavens. I didn't let them rise. I needed to establish my authority. Lao Jio, any movement from Mr. K? I lit a cigarette and asked softly. Lao Jio's expression immediately turned grave. Boss, as soon as you divorced, the news got out. Mr. K has been talking in Europe, saying he wants to give you a taste of what it's like to lose everything. I've found that he has already sent people to Jiangxing. The target is likely Miss Sue. As expected, that mad dog couldn't hold himself back. Also, Lao Jio paused before continuing. Genesis Technology is currently bidding on a key project in the south of the city. Their biggest competitor is the Glory Group. The Glory Group? I frowned. Zhao Hui. It's his father's company. My gaze turned instantly cold. A mere fly dares to buzz. Boss, there's one more thing. Lao Jio handed me a tablet. Take a look at this. On the screen was a security video. The location was the underground garage of Genesis Technology. A weary Su Wan was walking towards her car, with Zhao Hui trailing behind her like a shadow, holding a large bouquet of roses. Wan, don't be so heartless. That scumbag has already divorced you. Why can't you give me a chance? How am I any worse than that piece of trash? Su Wan stopped and looked at him coldly. Zhao Hui, I'll say it again, stay away from me. You and I are never going to happen. Never. Zhao Hui's face twisted in an instant. Su Wan, don't be shameless. Do you still think you're that high and mighty CEO? I'm telling you, my dad has already secured that project in the south. Without it, your Genesis Technology will go bankrupt in less than 3 months. Let's see you try to act so high and mighty in front of me then. He laughed arrogantly, reaching out to grab Su Wan's hand. Just then I pressed pause. The temperature in the entire hall of the Abyss seemed to drop to freezing. Everyone could feel the palpable killing intent emanating from me. I stared at Zhao Hui's smug face on the screen and spoke slowly. Black Panther, here, take some men to the Glory Group. Invite Chairman Zhao for a cup of tea. Tell him I've taken an interest in his son. Have him prepare 51% of the Glory Group's shares to ransom him at the Abyss. And if he refuses? Black Panther licked his lips, his eyes gleaming with excitement. I crushed the cigarette, but exhaling one last ring of smoke. Then tell him to get ready, to collect his son's corpse. Chapter 4. In Jiangxing, under the cover of night, neon lights flickered amidst overflowing desires. Empress Bar was a favorite gathering spot for the city's rich heirs. Zhao Hui, with an arm around a companion on each side, was bragging to his cronies about his achievements. See that? That's Su Wan from Genesis, who used to be so arrogant in front of me. Isn't she going to have to beg me now? Zhao Hui, his face flushed from drinking, said smugly. Brother Hui is awesome. I hear that woman is an ice queen. You're really going to conquer her? A nearby lackey flattered. Conquer her? It's only a matter of time. Zhao Hui downed the liquor in his glass. Once her company is finished, I'll make her kneel and beg me. Ha ha ha. He laughed wildly, completely oblivious to several burly men in black suits who had silently surrounded their booth. I sat in the shadows of a corner, slowly swirling the drink in my glass. Lao Jio stood behind me, like an emotionless stone statue. Boss, Black Panther and his men have moved in. I watched the crowd writhing wildly on the dance floor, my gaze devoid of any ripple. I was once like this, too, dancing on the edge of a knife, reveling in the abyss. Until I met Suwon. She was like a ray of light that shone into my dark world. She said, "Chinemo, let's live an ordinary life, okay?" Okay. And so I laid down my butcher's knife, washing away the blood that stained me. But now, someone wants to destroy my light, which means I have no choice but to return to hell. The music in the bar suddenly stopped. Zhao Hui's laughter came to an abrupt halt. "Who the fuck turned off the music? Don't you know I'm drinking here?" he roared drunkenly. No one answered him. Like grabbing a chick, Black Panther lifted him off the sofa with one hand. "Oh, who are you? What do you want?" "My dad is Zhao Tianxiong." Zhao Hui sobered up instantly, struggling in panic. Black Panther grinned, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth. "Our boss would like to invite young Master Zhao for a cup of tea." With that, ignoring Zhao Hui's curses, he dragged him out of the bar like a dead dog. The surrounding crowd, terrified, quickly made way, not daring to breathe. I drained the last sip of wine from my glass and stood up. Old Gio called Zhao Tianxiong. "Yes." The call connected quickly. A steady, middle-aged man's voice, tinged with authority, came from the other end. "Who is this?" "Chairman Zhao." I took the phone, my voice calm. "Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Chun Mo. Your son is in my hands now." There was a full 10 seconds of silence on the other end of the line. "Chun Mo." Zhao Tianxiong's voice turned icy. "Suwon's useless ex-husband? Kid, you've got some nerve touching my son?" I chuckled lightly. "Chairman Zhao, I'll give you 2 hours. Prepare a share transfer agreement for 51% of the Glorious Group and come to the abandoned cannery in the south of the city. 1 minute late, and I'll chop off one of your son's fingers. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, I'm not a very patient man." With that, I hung up the phone. Old Jiu looked at me, his eyes full of worry. "Boss, Zhao Tianxiong has deep roots in Jiang City, with connections in both the legal and criminal worlds. If we do this, will it?" "He won't dare," I said faintly, looking at the dark night sky outside the window, because he knows better than anyone that a man with nothing to lose is the most terrifying. And in everyone's eyes right now, I was a madman who would abandon 5 years of marriage for money. A madman is capable of anything. 2 hours later, inside the octagonal cage of the abyss, Zhao Hui was trussed up and thrown on the ground, a rag stuffed in his mouth, whimpering. Black Panther and a group of thugs surrounded him, watching him like a monkey. The iron gate was pushed open. Zhao Tianxiong came alone. He looked older than in his photos, his temples already gray, but his eyes were still as sharp as an eagle's. He glanced at his son in the cage, then turned his gaze to me. I brought the shared transfer agreement. He threw a document on the ground. "Let my son go." I didn't move, just watched him quietly. "Chairman Zhao, it seems you haven't grasped the situation. Right now, I'm the one setting the terms." I gave Black Panther a look. Grinning menacingly, Black Panther pulled a dagger from his waist and patted Zhao Hui's face with it. Zhao Hui trembled with fear, tears, and snot streaming down his face. Zhao Tianxiong's fists clenched instantly, veins bulging on his forehead. "What the hell do you want?" he growled. "It's simple." I walked up to him, looking down on him. "First, sign it. Second, your Glorious Group will immediately withdraw from the South City project. Third, have your son kneel down, count out to me 3 times, and say he was wrong. In your dreams." Zhao Tianxiong was furious. "Is that so?" I picked up the dagger, weighed it in my hand, and then suddenly threw it. Swish! The dagger grazed past Zhao Hui's ear and embedded itself deep into the post behind him. A lock of hair, along with a few drops of blood, drifted down. Zhao Hui pissed himself in terror. Zhao Tianxiong's face turned deathly pale. He stared at me, his eyes filled with fear and disbelief. He finally understood that he wasn't facing a kept man who just wanted money. He was facing a real devil. Chapter 5. In the end, Zhao Tianxiong signed the papers and kowtowed. He fled the abyss in disgrace with his terrified son, Zhao Hui. The news that the Glorious Group had changed hands exploded throughout Jiang City's business world the next morning like a bombshell. Genesis Technology, CEO's office. Suwon hadn't slept all night. Her eyes were bloodshot. On her desk lay the announcement that the Glorious Group had suddenly withdrawn its bid for the South City project. Her assistant, a capable young woman named Xiaoya, was reporting to her excitedly. President Su, this is fantastic news. The Glorious Group actually pulled out. The South City project is in the bag for us. But Su-won couldn't feel happy at all. She felt there was something strange about the whole thing. It was too coincidental. Just the day before, Zhao Hui was using this project to threaten her, and the next day, such a huge upheaval happened to the Glorious Group. Who was pulling the strings behind the scenes? President Su? President Su? Seeing she was lost in thought, Xiaoya couldn't help but call her twice. Oh, I know. Su-won came back to her senses, rubbing her temples wearily. You can go out first. She was the only one left in the office. She pulled open a drawer and took out the divorce agreement she had crumpled into a ball. Chin Mo, is it you? The moment this thought emerged, she snuffed it out herself. Impossible. He's just an ordinary office worker, a coward who could abandon a 5-year relationship for money. How could he possibly have this much power? But besides him, who could it be? Su-won's mind was a tangled mess. Just then, her phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. She hesitated for a moment, but still answered it. Hello. From the other end of the line came a processed, hoarse, electronically synthesized voice. Is this Miss Su-won? I am. Want to know your ex-husband's true face? Su-won's heart leaped violently. What do you mean? Hit. You think he's really just a worthless mooch? You think he took your $50 billion just to squander it? Too naive, Miss Su. He's not worthless, he's a demon. A demon who crawled out of hell to come back for revenge. Who on earth are you? Su-won's voice began to tremble. Who I am isn't important. What's important is that you will soon see just how terrifying the man you once loved so deeply is. He destroyed the Zhao family, and next it will be you, because you are now his only weakness. Mr. K sends his regards. The call was disconnected. Su-won gripped her phone, the blood in her veins feeling as if it had frozen solid. Mr. K. She seemed to have heard this name somewhere before. That's right. 5 years ago, when Chana Mo had just gotten together with her, he was drunk once and kept muttering this name. He had said, K, if you lose, you have to admit it. He had said, don't touch my woman, or I'll make you disappear from this world. At the time, she thought it was just drunken nonsense and didn't pay it any mind. Thinking back on it now, it was terrifying. Chinemo, who on earth are you? Meanwhile, within the abyss, I listened to old Ninth's report, my expression so dark that water could have dripped from it. Boss, K's people have contacted Miss Su. I know, I said coldly. He's declaring war on me. What should we do? Miss Su sighed. Strengthen her protection. 24 hours. She cannot leave our sight, I ordered. Also, pull out all of K's eyes and ears in Jiang City for me. Yes. Old Ninth took his orders and left. I stood alone before the massive floor-to-ceiling window, looking out at the gray, gloomy sky. K, you finally came after all. 5 years ago, on that gambling ship in international waters, I won everything from you. Your wealth, your empire, your dignity. I'll let you live on the condition that you would never set foot in Asia again. I thought you would keep your promise. I was too naive. Not only did you come back, but you also set your sights on Su-won. You touched my reverse scale. This time, I won't give you any more chances. I picked up my phone and dialed number. Hello, it's me. Help me prepare a gambling match. I want to challenge Mr. K. The stakes, everything he has in my life. Mr. K's actions were faster and more ruthless than I had imagined. He didn't make a move on me directly, but instead chose the thing Su-won cared about most, Genesis. Within 3 days, Genesis Technologies' stock price suffered a cataclysmic crash. Countless negative news stories came flooding in. The lights in the Genesis building were on all night. Su-won hadn't slept for 2 days and 2 nights, and she looked haggard beyond belief. President Su, the bank has rejected our loan application. President Su, 3 more shareholders have announced they're pulling their investment. President Su, we can't hold on. Bad news came one after another, like knives stabbing into Su-won's heart. She sat in the empty office, looking out at the city's nights. She couldn't understand who would use such ruthless methods to drive her to her doom. Was it Mr. K? That mysterious phone call was like a curse lingering in her mind. And why would he do this? Was all of this really related to Chunimo? Just as she was mentally and physically exhausted, a knock came on the office door. Who is it? Me? A voice so familiar it was etched into her bones. Suwon shot her head up and saw Chunimo push the door open and walk in. He still had that lazy demeanor, dressed in a simple t-shirt and jeans, as if the recent bloody storm in Jiangqing's business world had nothing to do with him. What are you doing here? Suwon's voice was icy, thick with wariness. Here to see me make a fool of myself? I'm here to help you. I walked up to her and placed a document on her desk. Suwon glanced at the cover, her pupils contracting sharply. Huiwang Group Share Transfer Agreement? She cried out in astonishment. You bought Huiwang Group. To be precise, Zhao Tianxiong gave it to me, I said faintly. Suwon looked at me in disbelief, feeling her entire perception of reality being completely overturned. Why? Why would you do this? I told you. I'm here to help you. I don't need it. Suwon stood up excitedly and slammed the document onto the floor. Chunimo, who are you? What exactly are you trying to do? You were behind what happened to Huiwang Group, weren't you? And what's happening to Genesis now? That's related to you too, isn't it? I looked at her, trembling with agitation, and remained silent. Say something. Tears welled up in Suwon's eyes again. Tell me, who on earth is this Mr. K? Why is he targeting me? What is all this for? I took a deep breath, knowing that some things could no longer be hidden. Because he wants revenge on me. Revenge on you? Suwon was stunned. You're just an ordinary office worker. What's there for him to get revenge on? Because I'm not. I looked directly into her eyes and said, word by word, 5 years ago, my name was Grey God. Grey God? Suwon murmured the name, her face filled with confusion. A gambler. I laughed self-deprecatingly. A gambler who won Mr. K's entire fortune. Boom. Something seemed to explode in Suwon's mind. She staggered back 2 steps, barely steadying herself by holding onto the desk. She looked at the man before her, so familiar yet so strange, feeling as if she were in the middle of an absurd dream. The husband she had loved for 5 years and been disappointed in for 5 years was actually the legendary underground god of gamblers. So, you divorced me to protect you. I cut her off. I had nothing. He couldn't touch me. But you're different. You're the CEO of Genesis, the new $10 billion tycoon of Jiangqing. You're a living target. I took the $50 billion to make everyone think I was a shameless bastard, to make him think we had completely severed ties. Only then would he not come after you immediately, and I would have time to come back and play his game. Suwon was completely stunned. What she thought was betrayal was actually protection. What she thought was humiliation was actually a sacrifice. The truth was like the sharpest knife, slicing open her heart, the pain so intense she could barely breathe. Bastard. Chunimo, you bastard. She rushed forward, pounding my chest with her fists, crying her heart out. I didn't dodge, let her vent. I knew how much pain she was in. Then what are you doing here now? Weren't you trying to cut ties with me? She asked through her tears. Because he's already made his move. I grabbed her hands, my gaze becoming incredibly firm. I can't let you face this alone anymore. Just then my phone rang. It was Lao Gio. Boss, Mr. K sent someone to the abyss with a message. He said, he knows you're back. He's inviting you, tonight at 12, on the Victoria cruise ship to settle things. He also said, he's prepared a big gift for you. I hung up the phone, my eyes cold. What was coming would eventually come. I looked at Suwon and said softly, stay here, don't go anywhere. Wait for me to come back. With that, I turned to leave. Chunimo. Suwon suddenly called out to me. I turned back. She wiped her tears, her eyes holding a determination she had never shown before. I'm going with you. Chapter 7, you can't go. I refused flatly. That wasn't a business negotiation. It was the entrance to hell. Why can't I go? Suwon looked at me stubbornly. Chunimo, for 5 years, I always thought I was ahead of you, sheltering you from the wind and rain. In the end, I find out you've been the one protecting me from behind all along. Before, I didn't know what your world was like. Now I do. I can't let you be alone anymore. I looked at the resolve in her eyes, a light I had never seen before. That wasn't the sharpness of a powerful businesswoman, but the determination of a wife ready to face life and death with her husband. My heart jolted violently. You fool, if you go, you'll become my weakness. But I couldn't say it out loud. I was afraid that the moment I opened my mouth, all my pretenses would crumble. Boss. Lao Jio's voice came from outside the door. He had clearly heard our conversation. Let Miss Sue go. Mr. K's target is you. He won't be foolish enough to make a move before the game starts. Besides, with us here, no one will be able to harm a single hair on Miss Sue's head. I fell silent. Lao Jio was right. K was arrogant by nature. What he wanted was to be at the gambling table, right in front of me, crushing my hopes bit by bit. He wanted to make me watch Sue won and then lose everything. That was the revenge he desired most. All right, I finally nodded. But you must promise me, no matter what happens, you will stay by my side. You cannot leave me for even a single step. I promise you, Sue Won said without hesitation. Late at night, on the Huangpu River, a luxury cruise ship named the Victoria, like a silent behemoth, was moored quietly in the middle of the river. These were international waters, a place with no laws, only rules. Sue Won and I, escorted by Lao Jio, Black Panther, and the others, boarded the cruise ship. The banquet hall on the top deck of the ship had long been cleared out. Beneath a massive crystal chandelier, there was only a single Texas Hold'em poker table. A middle-aged man in a white suit and gold-rimmed glasses, looking refined and gentle, was sitting at the head of the table. Behind him stood 2 rows of bodyguards in black suits, each one exuding an air of danger. He was Mr. K, a devil who perfectly blended elegance with cruelty. Seeing me, he stood up, a warm smile on his face, as if seeing a long-lost friend. Huisha, my old friend, we finally meet again. He opened his arms and walked towards me. I didn't move, just watched him coldly. His gaze passed over me and landed on Sue Won behind me, a flash of greed and amusement in his eyes. This must be the legendary Miss Sue Won, the one who can make you leave the game for good? Truly a stunning beauty. No wonder, no wonder. He clucked his tongue in admiration. Sue Won felt extremely uncomfortable and subconsciously leaned closer behind me. I took a step forward, blocking her from Mr. K's line of sight. K, cut the crap. My voice was devoid of any warmth. Tell me, how do you want to play? No rush, no rush. Mr. K smiled, waved his hand, and snapped his fingers. A waiter came over carrying a tray covered with a piece of red velvet cloth. I told you I had a big gift prepared for you, Mr. K said with a smile, then abruptly ripped off the velvet cloth. On the tray was not gold or jewels, but a severed hand, a bloody right hand chopped off at the wrist. On that hand was a familiar jade thumb ring. My pupils instantly shrank to pinpoints. That was Lao Gui's hand. Lao Gui, he was my best brother back in the day, and also the most skill card sharp. After I retired, he also disappeared without a trace. I told him not to touch gambling again, to go live a normal life. What did you do to him? My voice was hoarse with extreme rage, and a terrifying killing intent erupted from me, making the temperature in the entire hall seem to drop several degrees. Black Panther and the brothers behind me drew their weapons in unison. Mr. K, however, acted as if he hadn't seen a thing, still maintaining his smile. Don't be nervous, Hui Shun. I just invited him to help me deal some cards. But he didn't seem to be very obedient, so I had to help him get rid of a little bad habit. His other hand and his life are now in your hands. He pointed to the poker table. Beat me, and he lives. Lose, and you can go down and join him. Sue Won's face was pale with fear, and she gripped my arm tightly. I could feel her trembling. I turned back, patted her hand reassuringly, and then looked at Mr. K again. I smiled. An incredibly cold, incredibly cruel smile. K, you have succeeded in enraging me. Tonight, not a single one of you or your men will leave this ship alive. Chapter 8. The game began. The dealer was a young man, trembling uncontrollably, with a gun pointed at his head by one of Mr. K's men. He clearly knew what had happened to Lao Gui, and his dealing hand was shaking like a sifter. First round, no limit Texas Hold'em. The starting chips, in front of Mr. K and me, a mountain of chips worth 10 billion each. Hui Shun, do you know what I admire most about you? Mr. K, while elegantly shuffling his chips, casually remarked. It's that madness of yours. Giving up everything for a woman. And now, you're ready to stake your life for a piece of trash. I ignored him, quietly gazing at my whole cards. An ace of spades, a king of spades. A perfect starting hand. Looks like my luck is good, I said indifferently. On the table, 3 community cards were successively dealt. Jack of clubs, queen of diamonds, 10 of spades. I had a straight. Mr. K, whose hand also seemed promising, called without hesitation. The turn card was a 2 of hearts, irrelevant. The river, the final community card. The dealer's hand trembled slightly, and a card slowly fell. 9 of spades. My straight transformed into a royal flush. This was the biggest hand in Texas Hold'em. I was guaranteed to win. Mr. K looked at the cards, a sinister smile spreading across his face. Gray God, he suddenly asked, posing an irrelevant question. Do you think there's such a thing as absolute luck in this world? I frowned but didn't answer. 5 years ago, right on this ship, I held 4 aces and lost to your royal flush. Mr. K's eyes became fervent. I don't believe it. I don't believe in such coincidences. For the past 5 years, I've studied that game every single day. I hired the best mathematicians, physicists, and psychologists in the world. Do you know what I discovered? He suddenly leaned closer, lowering his voice, speaking in a tone only we two could hear. I found out you cheated. My heart sank abruptly. You weren't relying on luck. You were relying on calculation. You calculated the humidity of the air, the wind speed, the angle of the dealer's pitch, even the minute differences caused by wear on each card in the shoe. You're not a god of gamblers. You're a sophisticated computer. I looked at his face, distorted by excitement, feeling a chill in my heart. He had gone mad. In his obsession to defeat me, he had become consumed by it. So what? I asked calmly. So, today I'm going to beat you at your own game. Mr. K abruptly straightened up, pushing all the chips in front of him to the center of the table. All in. I bet you won't call. The room erupted in gasps. Suwon nervously clutched my sleeve. I looked at the mountain of chips piled on the table, then at Mr. K's confident face. I knew it was a trap. He couldn't possibly not know I had a royal flush. He must be bluffing. He was betting I wouldn't call, because he knew Suwon was standing behind me. I couldn't afford to lose. What's wrong, Gray God? Mr. K sneered. Didn't you claim you never fold? Where's your guts? Did that woman wear them away? I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. In my mind, I frantically calculated all possibilities. The cards were fine. The dealer was fine. Mr. K's expression, actions, heartbeat, all seemed fine. So where was the problem? I abruptly opened my eyes, my gaze falling upon the massive crystal chandelier. The light had a faint flicker. It was Morse code. Someone was using the light to tell Mr. K my whole cards. And only one person could control this ship's lighting system. I whipped my head around, looking at the man standing behind Mr. K, the one dressed in a waiter's uniform, head bowed, face unclear. Old Ghost. His hand hadn't been cut off. The severed hand was fake. He had betrayed me. Chapter 9. This realization, like a bolt of lightning, split my mind. Why? Old Ghost was my sworn brother, my brother in arms. I had never treated him unfairly. When I retired, I gave him enough money to squander for generations. Why would he betray me? My gaze met Mr. K's across the room, his smile full of triumph and mockery. He seemed to be saying, see, this is your most trusted brother. I understood. What Mr. K wanted was not just to win my money, not just to take my life. He wanted to destroy my spirit. He wanted me to be forsaken by everyone, to die in the deepest despair. What a cruel method. Suwon felt my stiffness. She looked at me worriedly, asking in an almost inaudible voice, what's wrong? I shook my head at her, signaling her to rest assured. Then I looked back at the poker table. A royal flush. When everyone knows my whole cards, it's nothing but a worthless piece of paper. Mr. K's whole cards must be 4 of a kind. Perhaps 4 jacks or 4 queens. Whichever it was, it would be a smaller hand than mine. But as soon as I call, he would immediately fold. I won the hand, but I lost the hearts of men. Mr. K would expose Old Ghost's undercover identity in public, letting everyone witness the tragic scene of my betrayal by a brother. If I folded, I would lose these 10 billion, lose my momentum, and further solidify my reputation for being timid. This was an impossible dilemma. Mr. K, you really do know me so well. You know that what I value most is loyalty and brotherhood. A bitter taste filled my mouth. Old ghost, what in the world are you doing this for? Time ticked by second. Everyone's gaze was fixed on me. What's wrong, got a gray? Is it a difficult choice? Mr. K said leisurely, there are 10 seconds left. If you don't make a decision, it will be considered a fold. 10, 9. Suwon's palms were slick with sweat. She was even more nervous than I was. 3, 2. Just as the countdown was about to end, I suddenly smiled. I looked up at Mr. K, and slowly, I pushed all the chips in front of me forward as well. All in. The room fell deathly silent. The smile on Mr. K's face froze. Behind him, old Ghost's head shot up, his eyes filled with shock and incomprehension. Even Suwon stared at me in disbelief. Are you insane? Mr. K cried out. Do you know what my hand is? How dare you call? I don't know. I shook my head, my smile growing wider. And I don't want to know. I only know that my brother's life is worth more than 10 billion. I'm not betting on this hand. I'm betting that you won't dare to show your cards. I stared dead into Mr. K's eyes. You went to all this trouble, found old Ghost, and set this trap. Wasn't it just to see me in pain, to see me in despair? What you want is to torture me slowly, not to perish together with me, right here, right now. You, of all people, are most afraid of losing control. So, Mr. K, now it's your turn. Are you in, or are you out? Mr. K's face turned ghastly white in an instant. Cold sweat trickled down from his temples. He glared at me, then glanced at Suwon behind me, his eyes filled with struggle and unwillingness. I was right. He didn't dare call. Just like me, he couldn't afford to lose. If he lost, he would truly have nothing left. You. He pointed at me, his lips trembling, unable to utter a complete sentence for a long moment. Finally, defeated, he slammed his whole cards face down on the table. Fold. I had won. I didn't look at the chips flooding towards me. Instead, I walked straight to old Ghost. He kept his head down, not daring to look at me. Why? I asked softly. His whole body trembled. After a long silence, he spoke in a hoarse voice. He took my daughter. He said if I didn't do as he said, he would. My heart felt as if it had been viciously squeezed. I patted his shoulder. I understand. Leave the rest to me. I turned around and walked back to the gambling table, towards the man who now looked like a crazed demon, Mr. K. K, the game should be over. My voice was soft, yet it carried an indisputable air of judgment. For the second round, let's play something more exciting. Russian roulette. One gun, one bullet. You take a shot, I take a shot. Whoever dies first loses. Mr. K had completely lost his mind. Good. He repeated the word 3 times, a savage look on his face as he snatched a revolver from the holster of a bodyguard behind him and slammed it on the table. Russian roulette. I love it. He grabbed the pistol, swung out the cylinder, and in front of everyone, loaded a single gleaming brass bullet. Then he snapped the cylinder shut and gave it a fast spin. Click. He pressed the muzzle against his own temple. God of Gray, you first, or me? He grinned, a demonic smile on his face. Suwon screamed in terror, clamping her hands tightly over her mouth. I'll go. I took the gun from his hand and, without the slightest hesitation, pointed it at my own temple. The entire world seemed to fall silent. I could hear Suwon's stifled sobs, the tense breathing of Lao, Geo, and Black Panther, and the excited thumping of Mr. K's heart. I looked at Suwon. Her eyes were filled with fear and pleading. She was shaking her head at me, begging me not to do it. I gave her a reassuring smile. Wan, don't be afraid. I told you I'll take you home. Then, under everyone's horrified gaze, I pulled the trigger. Click. An empty chamber. I had survived. I placed the gun gently down in front of Mr. K. Your turn. A flicker of panic, almost imperceptible, crossed Mr. K's face. But he quickly masked it with an even more maniacal laugh. Ha! Gutsy. Worthy of the name Gray God. He picked up the gun and pointed it at his own temple. His hand was trembling slightly. He was also gambling. Gambling on that 1 in 6 probability. Click. Another empty click. He had also survived. He let out a long sigh of relief, his forehead covered in cold sweat. It seems God doesn't want to take us today, he said with a forced smile, trying to appear calm. The gun returned to my hand. Now, it was a 1 in 4 probability. Without the slightest hesitation, I raised the gun again. Suwon was already sobbing to the point of near collapse. Chinemo, don't. I'm begging you. Let's stop playing. We don't want the money. We don't want anything. She rushed forward, trying to snatch the gun from my hand. Black Panther and Lao Gio held her back firmly. Miss Sue, please calm down. Trust the boss. I looked at her and shook my head. Then I pulled the trigger again. Click. Still an empty chamber. The color had completely drained from Mr. K's face. He looked at the gun I handed him as if it were a venomous viper poised to strike, his eyes filled with terror. A 1 in 3 probability. The Grim Reaper was drawing ever closer. No, no, he began to tremble. I'm not playing anymore. I'm not playing. Once the game has started, it cannot end. I looked at him coldly. You made the rules. Devil. You're a devil. He screamed in terror, stumbling backward. Pick it up. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried an authority that could not be defied. Mr. K's psychological defenses completely crumbled. He suddenly turned and ran frantically towards the door. Stop him, I said faintly. Black Panther kicked him in the knee. Mr. K cried out in pain and collapsed to the ground. 2 brothers from the abyss pinned him down and dragged him back to the gambling table. Let me go. Do you know who I am? Let me go. He struggled wildly. I picked up the gun, walked over to him, and pressed the cold muzzle against his forehead. K, you've lost. He looked at me, his eyes filled with despair and fear. No, don't kill me. Great God, I was wrong. I was really wrong. He began to beg, tears streaming down his face. All the money is yours. You can have all my money. Just let me live. I'll never dare to do it again. Too late. I looked at his ugly face, my mind flashing to Lao Gui's bloody severed hand, to Suwon's gaunt face over the past few days. Be a good person in your next life. My fingers slowly squeezed the trigger. Just then, outside the cruise ship, the piercing sound of sirens suddenly erupted. Countless searchlights beamed from all directions, illuminating the entire vessel as if it were broad daylight. A solemn warning boomed from a loudspeaker. Listen up, everyone on the ship. You are surrounded by Interpol. Drop your weapons and surrender immediately. Mr. K was stunned for a moment, then became ecstatic. The police. It's the police. Ha ha ha. Great God, you can't kill me now. You can't kill me. I looked at him, a pitying smile on my face. You think they're here to save you? I let go, dropping the gun to the floor. Then I snapped my fingers. Lao Gui slowly walked out from behind Mr. K's group of bodyguards. His hands were perfectly intact. In his hand, he held a USB drive. Mr. K, Lao Gui looked at him, his expression complex. All the evidence of your crimes over the years, including money laundering, smuggling, and hiring assassins, it's all in here. The smile on Mr. K's face instantly froze. He looked at Lao Gui in disbelief, then back at me. You people. I told you I wasn't betting on cards, I said faintly. From the moment you contacted Lao Gui, you had already lost. I had him feign allegiance to you precisely to get this. Okay, welcome to the hell I prepared for you. Chapter 11. Interpol quickly boarded the cruise ship. Leading them was a valiant and heroic-looking female Chinese police officer. She walked straight up to me and gave me a standard military salute. Mr. Chun, thank you for your cooperation. We have been monitoring Mr. K's transnational criminal organization for a long time. This time, we can finally wipe them out. I nodded. Thank you for your hard work. Mr. K and his men were led away like dead dogs. As he passed by me, Mr. K stared at me, his eyes filled with venomous resentment and unwillingness. Grey God, you just wait. I won't let you get away with this. I ignored him. A loser wasn't even qualified for a second glance from me. Old Ghost walked over, his face filled with guilt. Boss, I'm sorry. No need to be sorry. I patted his shoulder. I'm the one who dragged you into this. From today on, take your daughter and find a place where no one knows you, and live a good life. I stuffed an anonymous Swiss bank card into his hand. The money in here is enough for you. Boss. Old Ghost's eyes turned red. Go. I waved my hand. Don't come back. This world isn't for you. Old Ghost gave me a deep look, then nodded heavily and turned to leave. Soon, only my men and I were left on the cruise ship, and Suwon, who had been standing behind me the whole time, witnessing everything from beginning to end. I turned and looked at her. Her face was still pale, but her eyes were exceptionally bright. She just stood there, watching me quietly, not saying a word. A distance of 3 steps separated us. But these 3 steps felt like 5 years, like 2 completely different worlds. After a long while, I finally managed to speak. It's all over. Over, she repeated softly, then laughed at herself. Chinemo, in your world, do you have to go through this every day? I remained silent. Why didn't you tell me? Her voice trembled with a sob. 5 years ago, why did you have to shoulder everything alone? Do you know, I thought you had changed. I thought you didn't love me anymore. I hated you for 5 years, resented you for 5 years, and was disappointed for 5 years. I'm sorry. Other than these 2 words, I didn't know what else to say. I don't want your sorry. She suddenly became agitated. I want you to tell me, was our divorce also part of the plan? Did you, from the very beginning, never really intend to separate from me? I looked at her expectant eyes, and my heart began to ache again. How I wish I could tell you yes. How I wish I could hold you right now and tell you how much I regret it. But I couldn't. Although Mr. K had fallen, there was a much larger power behind him. As long as I was still called Gray God, you could never be safe. I had to sever the last connection between us with my own hands. I took a deep breath and put on that cold mask again. Miss Sue, I think you've misunderstood. The divorce was real. Helping you was just a matter of convenience. After all, if you died, no one would pay my $50 billion. Now, the transaction is complete. We owe each other nothing. Every word I said was like a knife, stabbing fiercely into her heart and into mine. The light in Sue Wan's eyes dimmed, bit by bit. In the end, only a dead grayness remained. She smiled bleakly and nodded. Good. A good transaction is complete. Chinemo, I wish you and your money a long life. After saying that, she turned and walked back the way she came, without looking back. Her silhouette was resolute and lonely. I stood there, watching her walk further and further away, until she disappeared into the night. A metallic sweetness in my throat could no longer be suppressed and surged up violently. A mouthful of blood stained the deck. My world spun. In the last moment before losing consciousness, I seemed to see again the girl in the white dress from 5 years ago, smiling at me like a flower in the sun. She had said, Chinemo, all I want is for you to be safe and sound. I'm sorry, Wanwan. I broke my promise. When I woke up again, I was in a private hospital room. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, casting mottled shadows on the white quilt. Old Ninth was sitting by the bed, peeling an apple for me. Boss, you're awake. How long was I asleep? My voice was a little hoarse. 3 days and 3 nights. Old Ninth sighed. The doctor said you were overcome by anxiety and anger, and your old injuries flared up. Any later, and it would have been dangerous. I struggled to sit up, a sharp pain shooting through my chest. Sue, how is she? I asked urgently. Old Ninth was silent for a moment before speaking. Miss Sue, she transferred all her shares in Genesis Technology. I was stunned. What do you mean? She sold the company. Then, she left Jiangcheng alone. No one knows where she went. She only left one message. What was it? She said she was tired. She didn't want to be a female CEO anymore. She just wanted to find someone who could let her live a stable and peaceful life. My heart felt as if it had been instantly hollowed out. She was gone, taking with her all the hurt I had inflicted. It was for the best. Only by leaving me, this devil, could she truly be safe, truly be happy. I threw back the covers and got out of bed. Boss, where are you going? To find her. But boss, Mr. K's remaining followers are still out there. So what? I cut him off. I'm not even afraid of death. Do you think I'm afraid of them? Lao Jiao, the abyss is in your hands. From this day on, there's no more gray god in this world. There's only an ordinary man, Chun Imo, who wants to find his wife. 1 year later, Dali, Yunnan, by the shore of a Rai lake inside a small inn. A woman in a cotton linen long dress, her face bare of makeup, was sitting in the courtyard, reading a book quietly. The gentle sunlight spilled onto her, a moment of serene and beautiful time. She was the owner of this inn. People called her a wand. I pushed open the inn's wooden door and walked inside. The wind chimes tinkled. She lifted her head and saw me. Our eyes met, as if a lifetime had passed between us. In her gaze, there was no surprise, no resentment, only an unbreakable calm. "Guest, are you here for a meal or a stay?" She asked faintly, as if we were strangers meeting for the very first time. I walked to her and sat down in the rattan chair across from her. "I'm not here for a room." I looked at her and said, word by word, "I'm here to apply for a job." She was taken aback for a moment. "We are not hiring." "I can do anything," I said eagerly. "I can chop firewood, I can clean, I can cook, and I can protect you." She looked at me, silent for a long while. Then she smiled. It was the smile I had seen countless times in my dreams. "You want to plot? You can. However, we provide room and board, but no salary. And the job might be for a lifetime. Are you willing?" Watching the glint of tears in her eyes and the smile she could no longer suppress, I felt as if all the ice and snow in the world melted in that instant. I nodded forcefully, my voice choked with emotion. "I am willing. The fear isn't in losing the bet, but in quitting the gamble. What child cries every day? What gambler loses every day? But this time, I bet and won my entire world." Dear, could you rate this story in the comments? On a scale of 1 to 10, please. If you like this kind of story, please give it a follow.